Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Startup Sense podcast. This is your host, Jonah Lupton. Thank you for joining us today. We have a super special episode. I'm actually talking to a friend of mine from Wilmington, North Carolina, where I spent a couple of years hoping to move back there after I'd finish up here in Massachusetts. So on the phone today, we have Don Varady. He is the co-founder of a company called Clean Eatz, along with his wife, Evonne. They started this company back in 2012. It is a clean eating spot. I've been there. I love it. Amazing food. Their first flagship store is in Wilmington, North Carolina, right next to a Gold's Gym. Him and his wife opened up the place looking for, essentially a healthy place to eat. They were competitive bodybuilders and didn't really trust, some of the other restaurants and what they were putting in their foods. Obviously, when you're competing, you're on strict diets. Since then, they have built an empire. They have in the pipeline close to 50 locations that will probably be open by the end of this year. Just an amazing, amazing story. I'm looking forward to talking to Don. So let's welcome him to the show. Don, how are you, man?
I'm good, thank you.
What did I miss in the intro? Did I cover everything?
No, you covered it, man. That was good.
So tell us this story, man. So 5 years ago, you and your wife started this business. What was in your mind at that point? I mean, what were you guys looking to build here?
We moved it from St. Louis. Backstory: we started Local Cafe in St. Louis in 2010. Evonne was an X-ray tech and I was a carpenter, and we just were burnt out, man. We just didn't want to do it anymore. And Evonne actually started the initial Local Cafe, and I met her about literally 2 weeks later. And I had gotten laid off from the Carpenters Union and just decided to help her take it and run with it and see what we could do with it. And, we wound up having 2 locations in the St. Louis area, and we knew we wanted to relocate at some point because we both love the beach. We love the water, and wanted to move it and relocate it. So we went to the Arnold. We were going to the Arnold Classic every year in Columbus, and wound up running into Jen Hendershot and Stacy Polari, who are from North Carolina, and they had kind of talked us into coming and checking Wilmington out. We had our heart set on Florida. We wanted to go down to Florida and kind of relocate there and start our lives over there. But, once we got a taste of Wilmington and went and saw it and looked at it, kind of fell in love with it instantly. I put the location for our Racine store in our GPS, and, man, as soon as we pulled up, we saw Gold's and right there in the area, and literally the location, we just fell in love with it. And, we offered to buy it right down the spot. The guy was looking to sell it to retire, so we took it, went back to St. Louis, sold our business literally within a week, and packed everything up in a car trailer and drove it to North Carolina.
So the Clean Eatz location so the flagship store right now, what was that before you guys bought it?
It was Picasso's Deli.
Okay. So it was already somewhat built out for an eating spot.
Yeah, it was a deli already. Had most of the equipment in it. We brought some of our equipment across the country with us, but yeah, for the most part, it was a fully functional restaurant.
So you open up that spot. I'm sure, being right next to a gym, a lot of your early customers were probably gym members. When did you guys open up the second location, or when did you start to get into franchising? Because this is where the story gets so incredible. I mean, this is where the growth just takes off.
I want to say 2015. We had been in Wilmington for 2 or 3 years, and we started looking into either doing like an express model of what we were doing, or doing a second location up around Porter's Neck. And like I said, we went to a restaurant supply guy, and he hooked us up with Greg George and Jason Nista. Jason was one of the founders of Fuzzy Peach, and they had started a franchising business where they was taking small businesses and turning them into franchises. And they came highly recommended. We did our homework on them and looked up on them, and got in touch with them, and it kind of took off from there. We had no idea that it was gonna do what it did so quickly. We were actually just kind of, I remember we were laughing and saying if we did 5 of them, we'd be happy. And then next thing you know, it just kind of took off like a rocket ship.
Now, for some people that might have a business that they've thought about franchising, how much does it cost, and how long does it actually take to put everything together, all the paperwork, the agreements? I mean, in terms of legal expenses, I mean, how much? Maybe you can give us a little bit more insight.
I think that varies on the business and the concept. We, like I said, we hired Greg and Jason, and they owned a company called Emerging Franchises, so they kind of specialized in it. And they had I think if I remember right, we paid $50,000. Paid them $50,000, I think, to get all of our paperwork, all of the files formed and everything, and they basically built an entire back office for us. Jason did on with Google and some other systems, and then it took off from there. I mean, it was, but I think that cost, that all-in cost, I think that's going to be different for each concept. And there's also different avenues. You can hire franchise attorneys to do it for you, which is obviously going to be much more expensive. We hired a franchise attorney after the fact,
Okay.
To review everything that we did. So it was a little cheaper on us.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, the $50,000 number does sound pretty close to what I've heard before. So how did you guys sell this? The first franchise that opened up was in Charleston, South Carolina, right?
No, the first one was in Myrtle Beach.
Okay. Oh, Myrtle, right.
It was Lauren and Justin Malachowski. They were Lauren and Justin are from the Myrtle Beach area, but they were living in Wilmington, and they were actually customers of ours. They were longtime customers, and they once they got word that we were franchising, they approached us and asked us if they could, buy one and put it in Myrtle Beach. And of course, Lauren, for those of you that don't know Lauren, she's a really good go-getter, and so is Justin. They've got a really good head on their shoulders. So, of course, we said yes, and they were the very first ones. And Lauren wound up working in our cafe for, I want to say 6 to 8 weeks, in the process of them getting up and running. So by the time they got ready to open their store, she knew the system inside and out, had no trouble. So it was a really easy transition for her.
Yeah, what do you look for from a potential franchisee? What kind of a background or experience do you like to see, in them?
Oh man, our demographic. I mean, our perfect franchisee. We don't really demographic for our franchisees now is all over the board. We have really, really young. I think our youngest one, her name's Callie, and she's going to open in Beaufort. She's only 20 years old.
Wow.
I think I don't want to say the oldest one. I don't want to put him on the spot, but we have guys that are in their late 50s and early 60s that are franchisees that are still active, still living that healthy lifestyle and promoting the brand. So we don't really. I mean, there's no perfect one. It's just we kind of go off of our gut, and if they can live the lifestyle that we promote, then and they have a good work ethic and drive and have the passion for it. That's really all we look for.
Now, on the website, under franchise information, it mentions that $150,000 is kind of the startup cost. How are most of these franchisees coming up with that money? Are they able to get business loans from banks, kind of based on what you guys have already created, and they use that as kind of proof for a loan?
Banks aren't really loaning money on this concept yet 'cause it's so new, and getting a loan from a bank for a restaurant is kind of tough. I mean, honestly, man, to be honest with you, most of our franchisees up until this point have either had private funding or they've just paid for it cash out with their own finances.
Oh, wow.
I think we have one or two that use some leverage with a bank to get some financing, but we're trying to go the SBA route. We just haven't fully gotten there yet.
Okay. Well, as a coincidence, next Wednesday, I'm actually interviewing a woman who started a company called Apple Pie Capital, and all they do is franchising or finance. They do franchise financing. So I'll get you guys hooked up, and maybe that'll be a partnership somewhere down the road that'll make sense for Clean Eatz.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Talk to us about what's been the most fun part I mean, now that you guys are approaching 40, 50 locations, I mean, I know from our pre-call, you did not expect any of this. You weren't trying to build an empire, but now that you have, or you're at least on the way, I mean, what's been the most fun about it?
Honestly, man, when I walk into a franchise opening, when we go to a store opening, and they do their soft opening where they have their friends and their family come in, and to see the look on the franchisee's face when they're showing this off to their family and their friends, man, that's what means everything to me and Yvonne. And then especially, the very next day, their very first day of business, when people start filing in and eating their food, and just seeing them interact with their own customers. This, I always have that thought in the back of my head, that these people are making a difference, and they're enjoying this using a brand that we created. I mean, it kind of goes deep with me. It means a lot.
I mean, I'm sure you've built up a lot of great friendships from this business as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now, talk to us about the business a little bit more. You guys have obviously the cafe menu where people can stop in at any point during the day and order right from the menu. You have the meal plans and you have catering. So how does what's the allocation or percentage of each of those to the overall revenue of the business?
The meal plans is definitely what drives the restaurants. But I think what sets us apart from other meal plan companies, quote unquote, you see those online all the time now. Now they're popping up in droves. What sets us apart is we have the cafe part of it. We have the brick and mortar to back it up. So the customer comes in, they can get these meal plans. They have a face to put with the name. They have somebody they can talk to and interact with. I think that's what kind of set the brand apart. But as far as percentages, the meal plans and the cafe are starting to equal out. I'd say probably 65-70% of the revenue is still the meal plans, where the other part is dine-in and catering.
Because I remember from Gold's Gym that you guys also you had the meals in the freezers in the gym, right?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting story. So we started out, when we started this whole concept, we started wholesaling. We were putting when we first came to Wilmington, I struck up a relationship with Mike B. and Mike Valentino, the guy that owns the Golds, and since have grown a very good friendship with him. And he came over and wanted to put our meals in his gyms, the 10 gyms that he owns. And, at the time, we didn't have to, there was no law saying that, we had to go through the agriculture department, that we had to be under any kind of supervision. We were just operating under a catering license. And then, operating like that under 2 or 3 years like that, some laws had changed that we were unaware of, and next thing you know, the agriculture department's showing up at our door saying, hey, you guys can't do this.
Whoops.
So we had to go through a little rigmarole and get certified through the state and everything else. So now our Racine location is what's called a state-inspected facility. So now all of our wholesale meals are, they're done under a state inspector. There's an inspector sitting there watching us make them and everything like that. So to cut the liability back per se for the brand, we don't offer wholesaling in the franchise model. It's just there's just too much liability in it.
Gotcha. Okay.
We're actually in the process of negotiations with a pretty large company that I won't name yet to work with a commissary distribution system, so we can kind of spread our wholesale out, and get the meals out in areas that don't have franchises. So that's something I'm working on now.
This is Jonah Lupton, founder of Jewel and host of the Startup Sense podcast. At Jewel, we help entrepreneurs and startup founders build, launch, and grow their companies by providing superior technology, marketing, and consulting services. We help clients of all sizes, budgets, and industries. We put our clients in the best position to raise capital, grow revenues, hire employees, and maximize their profits. For more information or to set up a free consultation with our team, please visit our website at jool.net. That's JOOL.net. What's been the most difficult thing over the last 4 or 5 years?
Oh, man. I can tell you the most difficult thing since we franchised has been trying to be an owner-operator. and trying to run a franchise company at the same time. Evonne and I we're still in our cafes every day, just like our franchisees, and then trying to juggle back and forth between those two it's been tricky. But we're building up a team now that, we have support on our end, and we also have support for our franchisees. So it's getting a lot better, and it's growing. As we grow, our support grows.
Have you brought in people, I guess, onto the corporate team to help you run the franchises, to help you oversee everything?
Yeah. So we have a girl named Rebecca Hill that we hired. We were actually friends with her from the gym, and we were looking for somebody young, didn't have a family, that had a good work ethic and a lot of drive, and she fit that bill. So we offered her a job as kind of franchise relations. To give the franchisees some kind of aid. If they had questions, they could call Rebecca. Kind of be a buffer in between me and Evonne and the franchisees to help us out and help us manage their questions and their problems. And then we've actually hired Jason Nista, one of the guys that franchises. He's our active COO. That guy is just amazing. And the intelligence of that guy is insane. I've learned, I can't even begin to tell you, if I had to put a price tag on what he's taught me in the last couple of years, it's priceless. So he's been a very big asset. And then we also have a guy named Fred McLaughlin, who is located down in Destin, Florida. He's more of my real estate, guru, mentor. The guy his real estate portfolio is insane in the Panhandle. So I lean on him for a lot of the real estate needs, and that's kind of where I'm headed right now. I'm headed up to Charlotte to look at real estate as we speak right now with him. So,
how involved do you guys get? So when a potential franchisee comes to you and says, I want to open up a location in Nashville, do you guys give them some advice on what type of a location they should be looking for?
Yeah, we have real estate specs that we ask them to follow, and we'll reach out in that area and we'll find a good broker in that area and have them pick a half a dozen or so locations, and then we'll travel to that market and go look at them and see if we can find one that's approved or that will approve to open a cafe, or one that everybody agrees on, that everybody likes. And once we pick one, we go from there, man.
You've probably done a lot of traveling the last few years.
Insane.
I feel like every time I see you, a Facebook post, you're in a different state or a different city. I can tell you're all over the place.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. It's fun to travel sometimes, but sometimes, man, people that travel a lot, they know that it's not all glitz and glamour. Getting on and off airplanes and checking into hotels isn't fun all the time. I'm not complaining. It's been fun to see different areas and travel around and meet new people. So by no means am I complaining.
It wears you down, though. It definitely does, right?
It does.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Do you still find time to work out?
Yeah, that's probably the number one question that I get is, when am I competing again? Am I going to compete again? And man, I have no idea. It's funny, actually, yesterday, Evonne and I went to Fleet Feet, and we were sitting eating lunch yesterday, and we were talking about maybe thinking about trying to train for, a half Ironman or triathlon or something. And if anybody that knows me well enough and that knows me really well, I hate cardio. I despise it. I can't stand it. I don't like it. So for me to even be thinking about this is crazy. But I'm almost 40. I don't see myself turning pro as a bodybuilder. So I think I'm going to try to dabble into something different. But I find time to train here and there, but it ain't as much as it used to be.
Oh no, dude. When you're running an empire like this, it is hard to find the time. No doubt about that. Right. Being a business owner it's a 24/7 job sometimes.
Sure.
What have you what have you learned over the last 4 or 5 years that's made you a better CEO today than maybe you were back in 2012?
Oh, that's a hard one. Learning from your mistakes is a big one. For me, I have that CEO title behind my name, but Evonne and I have always operated. I don't really look at titles too much. Just a title doesn't really mean a whole lot to me. I lean on my mentors a lot to try to learn from mistakes I've either made or try to learn before I make them. Mike V has taught me a lot. As I said, Jason, that dude's taught me so much I can't even begin to explain it. I've learned to listen. That's a big one too. Going into something and trying to learn every aspect of it and not have the attitude that you know it all.
Now, how do the franchisees find you guys now? Is it really, do you do any marketing and advertising, or is it simply people go into a place, they love the food, they love the atmosphere, and they want to open up their own?
Yeah, so we have a national advertising fund, that we spend money on Facebook. We just signed up to do a big national campaign with Oxygen Magazine, digitally and in their magazine. And we tried a bunch of different things, and then we have the franchising website, cleaneatzfranchising.com.
Okay.
But a lot of it, man, honestly, biggest percentage of our franchisees have been customers.
Right.
To be quite honest with you, it's been word of mouth.
So you guys so right now you're operating in North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, Kentucky, I think Ohio, Florida, and then it looks like you have a few more states coming online, like Georgia, Tennessee. Jesus, man, this is crazy. But still mostly East Coast, southeastern part of the U.S. When do you guys try to expand into, the central part of the country or the Northeast or even the West Coast?
I think right now we just focused our attention east of the Mississippi, something that's going to be fairly easy for us to travel to, with a 1 or 2 hour flight somewhere.
Yeah.
For us to fly out to California is expensive and it takes forever. And, so it's a little bit harder for us to manage. That's the most important thing. We got to keep it to where we can manage it.
Right. That's pretty much all I got for you. I love the story. Anything that you didn't get a chance to talk about that you really wanted to mention on the show?
No, man, not that I can think of. It's been fun.
In terms of, building a food empire, 5 years ago, I don't think you expected it to get this big. How big can it get?
Oh, man, sky's the limit. Look at McDonald's and Chick-fil-A. Those things are huge. Right now, we got asked in a franchise meeting, I think just 2 or 3 days ago, what our goal was. And we change that all the time. Our goal for this year was to open 30 new ones. We opened 15 of them last year, so we were kind of doubling down and said 30 is going to be our number for 2017, and looking into 2018, who knows? I always try to keep the philosophy, do it smarter and not faster. So if it's something, if our growth doesn't make sense, it's to a point that we couldn't manage it, then we're not going to do it. I don't want to say we're going to go to 500 units in 5 years. I don't want to make that assumption and then not be able to live up to it or not be able to manage it.
Right. And why? I'm not sure we got a chance to really talk about this, but why do you think this concept hits home so well for not just the franchisees, but also the customers?
I think it's just the way that, society is starting to shift now. They're getting away from fast food. Everybody's more health conscious these days. And I think our concept just kind of falls right in the middle of it. We're not to either side of the spectrum. We don't use all organic foods. We don't use any processed foods, but, we don't use hormone-free this, that, or the other thing. All of those big marketing, excuse my language, but bullshit terms, we fall right in the middle of that. We have something on our menu for each end of the healthy eating spectrum. So if you're a vegetarian, we have something for you. If you're a vegan, we can make it. We can do anything to fit any kind of dietary need, which is awesome.
Yeah, I actually get your meal plan, the menu emailed to me every week. And that food looks pretty damn good. Who comes up with all these recipes?
Me and Yvonne, man. We just, kind of decided what we're hungry with, or, we have a database full of them now, but, in the early days, trying to fill that database up, we'd use magazines, we'd go online and, what are you hungry for this week? Or, what sounds good, or what, looking at magazines and looking online, and then we would find something that we liked or that looked good, and then we try to put a healthy spin on it and try to make it as healthy as possible.
True spirit of an entrepreneur. You just make it happen. Find a way to make it happen. And kind of last question here for anyone that might be listening to the show, that could be interested in a potential franchise. What are some of the requirements and, I guess in terms of fees, right? I mean, do you guys charge a franchise fee up front? And then there must be some sort of like an ongoing monthly revenue share, right?
Yeah, so the franchise fee is $29,750. We do a 6% royalty and then a 1% contribution to a national advertising fund, and those are the fees. You can sign up on I think it's cleaneatsfranchising.com. That's a brand new website. We just started that. The form is on that website. It'll give you all of the requirements on there. You have to have access to 150K, and the money and the passion, man. That's it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put all that stuff in the show notes so anyone can click on that website and get the information. Well, Don, that's all I got for you, man. I really want to thank you for being on the show today. I know you're in the car right now driving to Charlotte. Audio actually came out really clear, so thank you so much for being a guest today.
No, man, thank you. I appreciate it.
And keep kicking ass, man. Love to see it. I remember visiting the first Clean Eatz store, your flagship store, probably 4 or 5 years ago. And, never did I loved the concept, but to look back now and see what you guys have built, it's just incredible. So congrats. You guys deserve a lot of hard work went into that, I'm sure.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
You got it, man. I'll talk to you soon, Don.
All right. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.